Let me introduce you to the mindset of 90% of the golfers at my local golf club by telling you about an actual conversation I had only yesterday. A golfer said to me, "There is something wrong with my swing and I need to fix it." "But what needs fixing?" I said. "My swing." "Yes, but what part of the swing?" "I don't know, it just doesn't feel right." "What part of it doesn't feel right?" I'm not sure whether it's the way I take the club away or the way I start the downswing. I just don't know. Is it the way I turn? You see, I'm getting old, I just can't turn as much anymore. I'm not like you young players." "Well, how will you know when you're doing it right?" I said. "Well, I'll hit the ball more consistently." "What will happen when you stop hitting consistent shots?" I said. "I'll have to fix it." "Fix what?" "My golf swing." "What part of the golf swing?" "I don't know, you tell me, you're the pro." Sound familiar? After careful consideration of the conversation, is there any wonder most of us get stuck in fair to average performance? We can't even feel what we are doing during the swing. So how on earth can we look at improving technique? You see, we are all full of do instructions. Do keep your arms straight. Do keep your head still. Do keep your knees flexed. So during the 2 seconds of the swing, how on earth can we manage to follow all of the do instructions? At what point do we forget about one and think about the other? Let's say you're new to golf and it's your first lesson in putting. Your instructor says, "Right, let's take hold of the club. Right hand above left. Make sure the grip is neutral. This will help the club face stay square to the target line. Okay, now address the ball. It's really important that the club travels an equal length back and equal length through to maintain good speed through the ball. I want you to keep the club face square to the path of the putter and make sure the putter face is square at the moment of impact." I'm not over exaggerating here what might be said to most beginners. Now, trying to do all of these things firstly decreases concentration. Our minds are hopping from one thing to the next without focusing attention on what is happening. It also decreases awareness. How can we possibly be aware of what is happening if we are trying to do all of these things? And when we can't do them, we lose confidence and start to doubt what we can do. We're also judgmental. Our instructor is telling us the difference between right and wrong. Is there any learning taking place here? I'm not sure, possibly very little. Let's take a look at when we all learned how to walk. Were we judgmental? No. Did we doubt? No. Did we lack confidence? No. Were we unaware and unfocused on what was actually happening? No. But how fast did we learn to walk? Incredibly fast. I'm sure the world would be an incredibly different place if we were all able to understand words before we learned how to walk. It would be like asking you to walk in a straight line following a set of do instructions related to walking. I'm sure even the most competent of walkers would start to walk very unnaturally when they had to follow the exact do instructions. What's happening here is the do instructions are interfering with your potential to carry out the task. They are interfering with your mind and body's amazing ability to self-correct, learn and perform. Let's take a look at an alternative method, something I call the accelerated learning mode. Okay, so find a grip that feels right to you. We are all individuals and there is no right or wrong grip. It's important in putting to be aware of where the club face is pointing and how it's moving, so find a grip that will assist you in this. Then I want you to become familiar with the putter by moving it around. First look at the putter and then do it with your eyes closed to see if you can sense where the putter is through your hands. This method is emphasising awareness and concentration. There's no right and wrong and no do's or don'ts. There is no doubt, only accelerated learning. Having a lesson like this means that when you are ready to start putting, your chances of success are much greater. But why aren't lessons carried out like this? I might be guilty myself of trying to justify my lesson fee. Maybe I'm afraid that the client might go home and say, "He didn't even tell me how to do anything. Putting's really easy, why do I need lessons?" But I hope I've demonstrated that there is certainly an art and science to golf. Timothy Gallwey states that performance equals potential minus interference. And that interference usually comes from a voice either from the coach or the voice he calls self one that is present in our own minds. Either the coach or you are issuing do instructions to tell yourself, the doer, Both performance and learning are accelerated with a quiet mind and a quiet self one. I'm not saying do instructions don't have a place in learning, they do. No pun intended. Used wisely, they can help. But the culture of golfers is to seek out too many tips, to always try and fix something, without working on awareness and concentration, which are vitally important for learning. It's like driving blindfolded. How on earth will you know when to turn the wheel if you are not aware of it? So what does this mean for you? Next time you are on the practice range, whatever you are trying to do, stop trying to do it. Don't try not to do it, and don't try to do it. Just become aware of the swing and where the club head is. Become aware of what is happening and what it feels like. Don't try and change anything. The aim is to see how well you can concentrate your attention on what is happening. And when you do, you'll be amazed at the results. But you see, that's the problem. Self one will then become active and start trying to judge again because it's worked, starting the vicious fix-it cycle off again. Try humming through your swing and notice what happens to the tone. Aim to keep the tone consistent through the swing and see what happens. It is through this exercise where you will find awareness gaps in your swing, and that's my interpretation of the amazing book, The Inner Game of Golf. If you want to learn more, follow me on Twitter and Facebook and stay tuned for the online course.